When we moved into the 3-bedroom house, I was only 3 years old. My mom decorated my brother's room with a lot of toys, double-decker bed, colorful carpet, small car and wood. It was supposed to be a warm place. But just before we officially moved in, my mom found a black stain on the carpet. It was like the blood of a dry river, and it was like something rotten. It seeped into the fiber. She rubbed it hard, and the stain was gone. But it didn't disappear completely. My brother was 5 years old and brave. He moved in first. I was too young and slept in my parents' room, but on the first night, he screamed and shivered. He said there was a ghost trying to kill him. My mom comforted him, took him back to our room to sleep, and then turned off the light. The moment the light went out, he froze. The black stain came back. What's worse? There was a sense of oppression in the room. It was like something was standing in the dark, silent warning, "Don't come in." My mom closed that door immediately. The next day, she took out all our toys. Since then, no one has ever entered that room, but that thing started to be more active. Every night at 10:30 p.m., the sound of footsteps will be heard. Slow and heavy. It's like someone is walking in the room. The door was closed, but we could hear it. Sometimes, he even walked to the corridor and stopped in front of our door. My brother and I joked that there was a ghost in the house, but we all knew it wasn't a joke. One day, our friend came to our house to spend the night and insisted on sleeping in that haunted bedroom. My mom warned him, but he didn't believe her. The sun was shining that day. My mom decided to clean the room again. She opened the window and let the fresh air flow. She even knelt on the ground to wipe away the black stain. But the stain was like growing on the floor, and couldn't be removed. I ran in with my toys. The sun was shining on me, and it was warm, but suddenly, a huge pain burst out from my back. I screamed and bent my waist. It was like being pinched by an invisible hand. My mom rushed over to hug me, but I was so painful that I rolled on the ground and couldn't touch it at all. My dad immediately drove me to the hospital. On the 30-kilometer road, I seemed to be tormented by some kind of force. I twisted and sprained my back in the car, but the moment I got into the hospital parking lot in the car, the pain disappeared. I sat up and smiled, as if nothing had happened. My parents hugged each other face to face, and their hair was shaking. From then on, things got worse. We started to see him. A blurry figure dressed in old clothes stood at the end of the corridor. My dad saw it, too. A man with a gloomy face stared at us, and then disappeared into the black room. Once, my brother and I played a chase game. He ran past the closed door. I chased after him, but I was in the corner of the corner. A black shadow stood in front of the door. It was no longer a blurry figure, but a twisted thing. It had sharp teeth and 2 black holes in its eyes. He opened his mouth and said, I am going to bite someone." I was so scared that my soul was scattered. I turned around and ran away. I fell into my mom's arms. The next day, my mom went to the landlord. It turned out that a man had died in that bedroom, had cancer. He was grumpy and hated children. His wife used to take care of him in that room. Until one day, people found him dead on the floor. There was a big pool of blood around him. No one knew how he died. After my mom heard it, she took a deep breath and walked into that room. He stood in front of the black room and said, "I know you're in pain, but you're free now. Let us go to here we should go." After that day, the footsteps disappeared. There was no more shadow standing in front of the door, but we never used that room again. A year later, we moved out. Until now, I still dream of that black room and that sharp-tongued mouth whispering in my ear, I want to bite someone." My name is Dong, 17 years old, and I live in a small town in the south. 2 years ago, my best friend Jama and I did a stupid thing. We broke into a haunted house. At that time, we were 14 or 15 years old. It was the age when we were not afraid of anything. We played pranks, broke public property, and were chased by the police. We did a lot of these things, so when my aunt told us that there was a haunted house on the top of the mountain near her farm, we immediately decided to go on an adventure. The next morning, we took a knife, flashlight, and some snacks and rode a bike. The road was steep, and we were exhausted. In the end, we could only leave the car at the foot of the mountain and climb up a slope. When we reached the top of the mountain, The house was standing there. The strange thing is that it didn't look like it was abandoned at all. The windows were perfect, and walls were solid. It was just that the inside was sealed with wood. We felt bored, so we started throwing stones at the windows. We even smashed all the windows just for fun. After climbing in, we found that the house was full of things: tableware, books, paintings, and even chess games. It's like the owner is just leaving for a while and will come back at any time. Then we found a family portrait in the drawer of the bedroom, an old couple, a little boy, and a little girl. The girl was wearing a light green dress and dark brown long hair, but she was standing far away from others, as if she was deliberately separated. There were words on the back of the photo, but Zhao Ma thought it would be interesting to tear it off. At the moment when he started to tear the photo, we heard the singing of a girl. I was so scared that Zhao Ma pushed me to the window to have a look. I climbed over with my head and sneaked out. She was standing there wearing a green dress and dark brown long hair, just like in the photo. She turned her back to us and hummed gently. I stopped until Zhao Ma asked me what I saw. I climbed back and told her the situation. She didn't believe me and insisted that I take a picture to prove it. I shook my phone and pointed at the girl outside the window. At the moment I pressed the shutter, she suddenly stopped humming and turned her head and stared at me. Then she raised her hand and pointed at me and screamed and jumped off the cliff. I fell to the ground and threw up. Zhao Ma finally believed me. We sat at the corner of the wall and were so scared that we didn't dare to move. 2 hours later, we heard the sound of a police car. The police were shouting outside. We took the opportunity to escape from the back window and ran down the mountain all the way. We rode a bicycle and tried our best to get back to my aunt's house. That night, my aunt told us the truth. The house was haunted from 1940 to 1977. An old couple lived there. In 1977, their grandchildren came to spend the weekend. The little girl had autism. It is said that she killed her whole family and jumped off the cliff to commit suicide. Zhao Ma and I didn't sleep all night and finally understood who the girl we saw was. I have a best friend, Sasha, a beautiful girl from Nigeria with caramel skin and explosive hair. She always attracts everyone's attention, and I stand next to her like an accessory. That day we were strolling on the street. A white luxury car slowly parked next to us. A handsome face appeared under the window, about 28 years old, with a charming smile. "Hey, beautiful ladies, where are you going?" she asked, but her eyes were only staring at Sasha. Sasha turned a blind eye and said, "What do you care?" But when she turned to me and blinked, she said, "What about you?" My heart skipped a beat. This is the first time a boy has looked at me like this, especially in front of Sasha. We talked for half an hour, and she invited us to get in the car. Sasha refused, but I said yes. The leather seats in the car smelled expensive. Her humor made me completely relaxed. When the night fell, I thought I should go home. "Take me home," I tried to ask. She nodded, but she never asked my address. When I woke up again, I found myself tied to the chair in the basement. That handsome man was smiling at me. "Your friend is so smart." I wanted him more. This is an old man in his 60s walking in. They started bargaining in languages I didn't understand. When I heard the words refugee and price, I finally understood. I was taken as a commodity. Suddenly, a loud noise. The moment the police broke in, I ran to theater. Later, Sasha told me that we had a location software in our cell phone. When he found my location displayed in another city, he immediately called the police. The man was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The police found that he had kidnapped more than 30 girls. The scariest thing was that he looked so normal, so charming. Now every time I see a white luxury car, I tremble unconsciously. The smell of the basement is deliciously mixed with leather scent. It still appears in my nightmares. Sasha is right. The most dangerous predator often wears the kindest sheepskin.